All right, everyone, and we are back with another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. We have a ton of really great episodes today, and once again, I am joined by my boy Adam.
Man, it is good to be back. It's been too long since we've gotten together and gotten to discuss this. It was nice seeing you the other day on your birthday at the Spurs game. So
Absolutely.
that was fun. Cheers to that.
Yeah, dude, I was really fortunate that you were able to be there. I mean, it sucks that we got dominated by the Raptors that night, but it was still fun regardless.
Yeah, it was, but that was ugly. What I expected coming
Yeah.
coming into the year a little bit, but
Absolutely. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, we got some really great topics. We're going to be talking early award predictions. We know that, a lot of these teams are only 10, 11, 12 games into the season, but we've still seen some amazing play in a lot of different categories, so we got to talk about it.
Yep.
And we're going to segue into some of the most surprising teams thus far. There's some teams, whether it's on the good side, whether it's on the bad side.
that's what I was going to say. Some are surprised me for the good.
Yeah.
Some I'm a little disappointed and surprised that they're doing so poorly. That one's going to be a really fun one to get into.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of interesting teams on that docket. And then we're going to end the episode with some Victor Wembanyama talk. There's a lot of really interesting conversation around this unicorn of a basketball player. And some of it is, it has me thinking, I hope he doesn't have to live up to this really unrealistic expectation, but it almost looks like he has to.
He already is. He's already being talked about as much as who? Zion, LeBron.
Yep.
I can't think of a 17-year-old that's been discussed and is as much hype as he does. So
Absolutely.
really excited to talk about him. Very excited to see where he ultimately lands and to follow his career for a long time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of interesting conversation around him, and we are going to talk about all of it.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's dive on in. Let's just start off with award predictions. I mean, whenever we're thinking about awards, I mean, it's tough to not gravitate towards the MVP right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So
we want to start with the big dog first.
yeah, let's start with Big Dog.
Okay,
Dog.
you want to lead this off, or you want me to go?
I mean, I can definitely lead it
I
off.
want to hear what you got to say. I want to hear what you have.
I mean, obviously, I think there's some clear directions you can go. I think when you look at teams that are just playing well in general, it's tough to not look at the Bucks and say that Giannis should be right up there. But,
Absolutely.
But I'm going Luka.
Okay.
The way I've seen Luka improve from an arguable MVP candidate last year, it's incredible to be putting up almost a 36-point triple-double. It's incredible. And now that we're seeing the Mavs play some pretty good team basketball, they're sitting right there in the middle of the West, and I think that's about where they're expected to be.
Yeah, I agree.
If the Mavs finish anywhere from fourth, fifth, I could see him easily getting it with the way he's playing right now.
It's very difficult to disagree with that. He's one of the two names that I have written down. And, when you think about the award in its core, right? Like, who is the most valuable player? Who is the most valuable player to their team? You can't always vote on it strictly like that because there's some valuable players on bad teams, right? But they are in the middle of the West. They're playing well. Luka's stepped his game up. So I think that he's absolutely deserving. Me personally, and you know this, I kind of put the award more towards team performance. Obviously, that individual has to play excellent as well. But I think if that team is being dominant and he's the leader of it, I just place that guy there. That's how I've always viewed the award. And for that, I do have Giannis. They're 8-1 or they're 9-1. They're first in the East. They're easily the best team in the league right now. And Giannis is that. And the biggest difference for me between him and Luka is that he is top 5 in the NBA in defensive win shares. Granted, he's playing on the best defensive team in the NBA as well. But he's stepping it up on the defensive side as well. Still putting up 32, 12, and 5, still being efficient, shooting near 55% from the field. So it's splitting hairs, right? You could say, hey, voter fatigue, I want to go Luka. Wouldn't blame you one bit. That's why I've written him down as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think we just hit the nail on the top two guys right there. I think it's hard to really focus on anyone else, especially when guys like Jokic, not like Jokic has had like a slow start, but he hasn't really been focusing on his offense. So like he's been wanting to mainly distribute and at no detriment to him or his team, but it just leads to other people kind of surpassing him in that MVP realm. So I think when I look at him, and Tatum has been playing really,
Yeah.
really
I
amazing.
was about to ask you, do you see any other names even being close?
I mean, I think there's going to be a cluster of names. I think whenever Ja had his couple of really exciting 40-point games right at the start of the season, people were like, "Oh, we think Ja's up there as well." And I think these are guys that are going to be bouncing around that third, fourth, fifth sort of second tier MVP conversation. But at the end of the day, it's Giannis's or Luka's award to lose.
I completely agree. There's one name out there that's playing MVP basketball. His field goal percentage, his efficiency has gone up so much from last year. He's already won it, though. We know him. He's Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Just the Warriors are losing. They're not winning games. They're under 500. It's difficult to really put him in the conversation because of that, but I just want to highlight him as somebody who's playing MVP level basketball.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough right now because the Warriors just like you were saying, they're not really living up to their full potential right now. They're underperforming, and I think
crazy.
It's more about what they're doing on the defensive end, not about what Steph Curry needs to be doing on offense.
Agreed.
But yeah, that rounds out some really good MVP chat.
I'll tell you one that I want to get into that I'm excited to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see if you agree with me or if you have a different name, but most improved player. I have two names. I'm going to lead it off. I got two names. I'm going to lead with the guy who I really think is on track to win it for multiple reasons, and that's Lauri Markkanen.
Okay.
I think at this stage of the season, it's a no-brainer. This is a guy who is in his sixth season. He is on his third NBA team. He's 25 years old. He has been traded twice. He was not, if you look at his most recent trade, he was involved in the Donovan Mitchell trade, right?
Yeah.
If you look at it, 3 picks, 2 pick swaps, Colin Sexton, and then Lauri Markkanen. He was like the 7th viewed asset in this trade. I don't think anybody anticipated him to be like this. And the dude is absolutely balling out. 21-9. He's averaging over 2 threes a game. He's shooting in the mid 50s for field goal percentage. Last year, he shot low 40s to put it into perspective. And I think you just look at Utah. He is currently the best player on that team. They're number 1 in the West. Holy shit. The Utah Jazz are number 1 in the West. And Lauri Markkanen is the best player leading to them to that. Tell me that anybody in their right mind would have said that 3 months ago, 2 months ago.
No, that's a really great point. I mean, I think what he's doing right now in this small sample size is absolutely ridiculous. I think whenever you look at Jazz are 9-3 right now. Like who expected them to be moving the ball at a top 3 offensive rate? No, literally no one.
Yeah, nobody pegged them as winning this many games,
especially
right?
with a 34-year-old head coach like Will Hardy. Like who expected this offense to be moving this well?
I have high expectations for Will Hardy. I did not expect this. I'm looking forward to discussing Will Hardy later, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
But nobody did. Nobody
Yeah.
saw a lot of players on that team performing at the level. Lauri Markkanen's that guy right now, so I've got him. I want to know who you have.
Yeah. Right now I gotta go with a little bit of a fan pick. I gotta go Keldon.
Oh, okay.
So like I think what I'm seeing from Keldon, he's improved his efficiency from 3. His effective field goal percentage has gone up. Obviously, his usage rate gone up. Has gone up because we don't have DeJounte.
Right.
But I honestly think that we haven't even seen anywhere near close to the amount of scoring that we're going to be able to see from him. I think he's going to be near a 25-point a game guy this season.
Yeah.
And whenever I factor in that, it's pretty much like the award is you need to become either more efficient in at least 2 or 3 areas, increase your scoring by about 6 or 7 points, and if you can make your team better than you were expected, then you're going to be in conversations to get that award.
And you could also say that, he hasn't had his full teammates to have an even better record. Imagine how much more we'd be talking about him and Devin Vassell if Vassell hadn't missed several games, Sohan had missed a game or 2.
Yeah.
We haven't been fully healthy either, so I love that pick a lot.
Yeah. And I do think that there's a little bit of a fan pick in there, but at the end of the day, I think it's warranted.
Well, yeah, it is a little bit of a fan pick, right? We're paying attention to him more. The second name I had written down was Devin Vassell. Obviously, that's some bias, right? But he's a guy that has stepped his game up substantially. He's scored over 20 points in 5 of his last 6 games. He's hitting a ridiculous amount of threes. Playing incredibly well, good defender. Whenever our entire starting unit has been together, we've looked very impressive defensively. Not as much when certain bench players come in, but I had Devin Vassell as a name written down. Another name that might come up later that I just feel like we have to mention is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah.
Having an absolutely insane year right now. Obviously, his team's shit.
Yeah.
But he sprayed a lot of cologne on that shit with him because he's so damn good. I think he's the number one player right now in fantasy leagues for Roto. So Shea Gilgeous-Alexander,
Yeah.
insane. Hopefully he can stay healthy. That's always been a knock on him. He's had difficulty playing full seasons. I can't imagine him playing a full season this year because they're going to want to be losing games later to tank, right?
Yeah, they're going to be wanting to lose games, and I feel like he's getting he's getting playing time, and he's just kind of living at this usage rate that I find just hard to sustain, given how much responsibility he has within that offense.
And to go to what you said earlier, one of the biggest variables of most improved is being able to increase that usage while remaining efficient, which he's somehow been able to do. Would love to see with the healthy Chet. They're inevitably going to finish near the bottom of the West. They're going to be vying for one of those top few guys if they finish with the top 2 pick. I mean, that could be a scary core if Chet gets healthy and becomes good.
Yeah.
Whoever they end up getting next year. So,
Yeah.
wanted to highlight him, but I think those are some good most improved picks.
Yeah, well, 2 guys I did want to bring up just real
Okay.
quick.
All right. Let me hear this.
The Tyrese Maxey, Tyrese Halliburton.
Okay.
I think both guys have improved quite a bit.
Yep.
And not only just their scoring output, but how comfortable they look. Like, I think, the more and more responsibility Maxey has within the 76ers offense, the more I like him.
Yeah.
The more I like him. And obviously Halliburton was always primed to have a big season, but the fact that he's looking like a guy that can put up 20 plus points a game pretty easily while coming close to leading the league in assists per game, I think it's pretty crazy.
So efficient, doesn't really turn the ball over, steals the ball at an incredible clip. Came from Sacramento, went to Indy, and I think a lot of people were surprised that Sacramento gave up on him that quickly. Didn't trade De'Aaron Fox instead. He's looked great. The Pacers are currently projected as a playoff team. I don't know that they'll get there, but they're currently in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great name. And Tyrese Maxey, leading the Sixers in minutes per game, second on the team in scoring at over 23 a clip, shooting over 50% from the field. I think he's one of those guys that's going to be good in the NBA for a long, long time. I think that's a really good suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's guys that are staying in the conversation, but we just wanted to highlight these guys that have improved a lot.
For you listeners at home, I would love to see in the comments who you think on some of these awards, who y'all have. If y'all disagree with us, I want to know who you guys think.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got, which one do you want to go into next? Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player?
Let's just go into Rookie of the Year. I mean, obviously, this one is pretty easy.
I was about to say, this one's tough.
I mean, this one's pretty easy. I mean, it's
Chet Holmgren.
I mean, unless you've been under a rock, it's Paolo.
I got to say, I'm happy that my good friend AJ is not here to rub this in my face. But Chet's not playing because I went out on that limb and said, hey, I think Chet's going to be the best NBA player. It's obviously still early, but yeah, Paolo's close to a minus 800 favorite to win the award. I can't remember the last time where it was this evident this early on. I mean, the dude's a bucket. He's a bucket.
Yeah.
He can do everything. Orlando's still pretty shitty. But the type of numbers he's putting up, he's not doing it incredibly inefficiently. What he does need to do, he does need to improve his 3-point shot. He's shooting under 23% from 3. If he's able to do that, he already is going to be a problem for a long time. But if he can step away, it's going to open up so much for his teammates. It's going to really, really just help his game even go to the next level. But yeah, Paolo's a easy pick, and there's really nobody close. You could say Benedict Mathurin, you could say Jaden Ivey, but they're obviously like way behind, right?
Right. I mean, I am really impressed with Ben Mathurin. Like, I really am. Like his raw energy, the fact that he's not even in the starting lineup and he's still able to have that kind of impact on the game. He's just one of those guys that was a really pleasant surprise outside of those top several guys.
He's one of those guys that jumped all around the lottery. Like, I follow the NBA draft pretty far out. And out of Arizona, it was evident that, hey, this is one of the guys. Like, I saw him as high as 4 or 5. He dropped out of the lottery at one point. And then I think what happened is during the combine, 5-on-5 started happening, and he just started shitting on people, to be honest. And they're like, oh, yeah, we forgot that, like, the biggest factor is 5-on-5 basketball. Like, agility is important. Athleticism is a big factor. But that guy can just go out and score. I do wonder if he's a guy that you want to play through, right? He wants to be an alpha on a team, deservingly so. I wonder how far he'll get like that. He seems like a guy that wants to have a really high usage rate, wants to score the ball. He can do that. I wonder if we'll be able to see a lot more of his game developed, and he's obviously incredibly young, so he'll have a lot of time to do that.
Yeah, yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, I think ultimately they could end up being what I honestly like what the Cavs are doing
Oh,
right
I
now
love that. That's
with
exactly what comparison I thought you were going to say.
yeah, like with just you have like a really good like dynamic explosive backcourt guard like Donovan Mitchell. I could see I could see Benedict Mathurin kind of going down that way, and if you have a guy like Darius Garland, who I feel like could be very similar to Halliburton in a lot of ways, who's a guy that's shooting, distributing very efficiently. It could be successful, and we're seeing the Cavs play really great basketball right now. So
Second in the East.
it's working
Got
out,
a man crush on that Cavs team. I tell you, they are
dude.
incredibly balanced.
Yeah,
Very, very fun to watch,
and just amazingly talented young defenders too on the front court
oh
side. Like,
yeah. Their interior defense is great. They've got guard play. They've got bench play. Kevin Love's looking 3 years younger. He's putting up stats,
yeah,
being pretty efficient. It's because he's got looks. He's got more. No one's focused on Kevin Love or CD Osman, so they're able to be a little bit more efficient, which has been nice.
yeah, that Cavs team in general is just really really good. But yeah, I mean, just doubling back on the rookies. There's really no one other than Paulo that's really really just surprising us. I was hoping Kyler Murray would be doing a little bit more.
Keegan.
Sorry, Keegan
Hey,
Murray.
we're still in football
Yeah,
season.
I've just Murray. Yeah, I got yeah. Oh yeah. Keegan Murray. Was hoping I would be a little bit more impressed with what he's doing so far, but at the same time, he was sick coming into the season, so
Who goes to Sacramento and just like immediately flourishes? Unfortunately,
yeah. I
but
mean,
he's not playing. He's not playing terribly. He's just been kind of inconsistent.
I was just wanting to see a little more right after that summer league MVP where everyone
Yeah.
just had their jaw on the ground and it was kind of like, all right, let's see if this translates. And it's been a little slow so far, but still a lot of promise.
As a homer pick, love Sohan. Obviously, not going to be like in this award conversation, but in terms of most impressive rookies, in terms of if the draft were to rehappen, I think he's going higher than 9. And convince me otherwise. We'll talk about him more later.
Yeah.
But I think Jeremy Sohan is proving to be a really, really solid pick for a lot of different reasons. I'm excited.
Yeah, his versatility. That's
He's 19 years old. He's the 8th youngest player in the NBA.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yep.
All right, so we're talking about another award, Defensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
Who are you thinking?
Yeah, let me lead this one off. I've got 2 names that I want to highlight. The first name I'm going to highlight is OG Anunoby, right?
Yeah, 3.1 steals a game.
He is the first player. Obviously, we're only 11 games in, 10 games in. He's the first player since 1990, Alvin Robertson, to have over 3 steals per game. The year before, John Stockton accomplished the same thing, but we've been, what does that mean? Over almost 30 years since we've seen someone average 3 steals per game. Do I think he'll finish that way? No, not necessarily. But OG Anunoby's taken a big step forward. He's being asked to do more with Pascal Siakam hurt, with Fred VanVleet being kind of banged up to start the year. His offensive game's taken a step forward. His defensive game's even taken a step forward, which he's always been touted for. So I think he's a huge name. And then I'm gonna give you another nice veteran who's really always been a good defender, but his league-wide defensive advanced stat metrics are even higher, and that's Brooke Lopez.
You literally have both of the same
No.
people. Yes.
I mean, we think a lot.
Yes.
We think a lot like.
Well, they're the number 1 ranked defense, and when you look at how he's improved his rim protection, I mean, honestly, he could be in the line for one of the most improved players as well.
He's playing great. I mean,
is.
he's always been a guy that can block shots and shoot, but he's tied for second in the league in total blocks, second in the league in blocks per game. He's first in the NBA in defensive win shares, above Giannis, above Drew Holiday, who are 2 other guys that are 2 of the best defensive players, and he's looking better than them defensively.
Yeah.
How do you not name those 2 guys? Hard to find anybody else really. Shea Gilgis SGA is putting up some crazy defensive stats, but doesn't have the same, a lot of it's just steals, blocks. It's not the other things that make you a really good defender.
Yeah.
So I stole your thunder pretty hard there.
No, I mean, honestly, it's really it's. I was thinking about it, and then I knew that you were going to go down a very, very similar route because we both think very statistically when it comes to defense, and we both
Yeah.
like defensive rating, and I think we're both just looking at the Bucks defense right now, and there's so much to like with Brook Lopez, and
Yeah.
obviously you can look at Giannis and look at his defensive versatility, but I think Brooks' improvement is one of the most one of the most wildest improvements I've ever seen. Whenever he came into the league, he was known as a guy that was really like, I'm going to get the ball down low, score around the bucket. Didn't really stretch the floor that much. Wasn't really a solid rim protector. Now he's known as a guy that stretches the floor, is one of the deadliest 3-point shooters that's above 7 foot.
Yeah.
And he's leading the league in blocks per game. It's crazy.
He's obviously, when you're that tall, you deal with injuries. He's dealt with a good amount of injuries ever since he was in Brooklyn. I think when you go back to his Nets days, he was putting up some good stats.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was always viewed as more of an offensive guy.
Right.
And he would get some blocks every once in a while, but his advanced defensive metrics aren't what they are today. Granted, it helps when you're surrounded by other good defenders. You're surrounded by other good defenders, that makes you a better defender, right? Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So it's helpful for him in that respect. But yeah, I think those are some obvious names. Giannis is another name that you need to mention in terms of defensive player of the year, but everyone knows he knows what he's doing on that end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And what about moving forward? What about sixth man? I think this is one that is going to be.
I don't think we'll agree on this one. I think we'll probably have some different names.
Yeah, there's going to be some variability to this one.
Who you got?
I'm going to go out of left field right now, and I'm going to go with kind of, honestly, the eye test a little bit on this one.
Okay.
I'm going with Bones Highland.
Nice. Good
I'm going
player
with
for
Bones.
Denver.
I just, out of the handful of Denver games I've watched, the offense completely changes when Bones comes into the game. And I think that to me is the symbol of a really, really great change of pace guy. And he's a guy that works well with Jokic a lot. I see Jokic get the rebound. He wants to turn, push the ball up the court. Bones is already running. They have the same mindset. And so whenever I look at how he impacts the offense, he's going to find ways to get maybe like 30 minutes off the bench. And if that's the role he's playing, he's going to be in that conversation for sure.
I mean, that's a great name. I think if you look at kind of Vegas odds, he is a name that's been mentioned. He's not like a favorite to win the award, but I think that he would be if a guy like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope got hurt and he was still coming out of the second unit. There's a good number of bodies that are demanding minutes, but he looks really good. He's gotten better and better each year. I love that pick. I'll tell you who I got. I've got free Bobby Portis. All right. To go back, whenever I look at these awards, I like to focus a little bit on team basketball,
Yeah.
He's one of 11 players in the NBA averaging a double-double, and he's coming off the bench. Obviously, the only bench player to be doing that. So I think you've got an elite team. I think you've got a guy that, when you look at a six-man, it's like a guy that comes in and brings energy to your team, right? It's a guy that is a leader. I think you look at Bobby, he's a fan favorite. He's a leader. He's putting it up statistically. There aren't that many guys that average over 10 rebounds a game that also can average over 3.5 a game. He's averaging under 1 turnover a game. I think he's just a name that has to be mentioned. I'm trying to remember if I have anybody else. Oh, I got 2 other names written down. One of which, because I think he's going to get better throughout the year. Jordan Poole, he's shooting like close to 40% from the field right now. He's struggling with his shot. I think as he improves, the Warriors will improve, and I think he is going to have his best games ahead of him this year. Yeah. So I think he's a name, and I think Malcolm Brogdon's another name that's going to continue to get better and better. Derek White was just moved to the bench. I think that he's going to get even more minutes now, and I think he's a name you got to be looking at.
Yeah. Ultimately, I was looking at him. I was also looking at Christian Wood as well.
Yep.
He's been playing really good off the bench, but I think Christian Wood's eventually going to get moved to the starting lineup at some point.
I don't know why he's not starting.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just need him in the game more and more, and I think that they're going to realize that, and ultimately the reason I didn't want to focus on a guy like Brogdon is, and we brought up on a previous episode, he just gets hurt all the time. So I'm just wondering. I mean, he's playing a really amazing basketball and really adding value now, but it's only a matter of time before he's going to get his
Yeah,
40,
it's not
45
if,
games,
it's
and
when.
then he's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not if when he gets hurt, it's when. I
Yeah.
agree. Well, I think that wraps up all the awards.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
too early to say Coach of the Year, right? I guess you could say Will Hardy. We didn't have that one written down.
Right.
I think it's pretty obvious that it would go to Will Hardy if it were to be dished out today, wouldn't it
Yeah.
be?
Yeah, I mean 9-2. I mean 9-3 in the West, sitting at the top. I mean, who would have thought with that level of talent that the Jazz would be finished first in the West?
What that's actually excellent that you bring that up because that kind of does help us transition into our next topic, which is going to be most surprising teams on the year.
Yep.
You started talking about a team who's my most surprising team, and I don't know how you could look at the Utah Jazz and not have them as one of the most pleasant surprises to start this year, sitting at the top of a West in which there are a lot of teams that there's a lot of good teams in the West. You could say that the best teams in the East, but there are a lot of top heavy, a lot of good teams in the West in the NBA, and the Utah Jazz are first. I I think you I think you got to go back and you got to start with Danny Ainge, right? Because Will Hardy's there because of him.
Yeah.
Danny Ainge, and I'm forgetting the owner's name of the Jazz right now, but Danny Ainge and the owner of the Jazz have a very strong relationship. It was pretty in advanced NBA circles last year. There was word of Danny Ainge quietly being moved out of the Boston front office to go over to Utah. What's the first thing he does? Gets Will Hardy, right?
Right.
And where does he come from? Spurs family tree, winning program. He then goes to Boston, another winning program. And I think everyone was excited to get him, but I don't think anybody envisioned the Jazz trading away their two best players, getting 8 picks in, like we talked about earlier with Laurie Marketing. He's a good player, but nobody expected him to be this. Colin Sexton was viewed as the better get in that trade. He's coming off the bench, so I think you have to have Utah as the most impressive, surprising team early. And to me, it's not close. I want to know who you got, though.
Right. I mean, I'm right there with you. Like it has to be the Jazz. Whenever you look at every single NBA narrative, and out of all the teams that got healthy, all the drama that's been happening, they are the one. They are the one pleasant surprise, like the one good, fun narrative to follow in the NBA. It's like, holy crap, the Jazz are good. Let's just see how long we can ride this wave and see how and see how long they get. And so, like, whenever I'm looking at it through that lens, you trade away arguably the best defensive anchor in basketball,
Yep.
and you trade away an explosive guard entering his prime, and you all of a sudden improve dramatically. You're a top 3 offense in the league. You're third in assists per game. You're sharing the ball well. You're playing with total freedom. It doesn't look right, but it is.
It seems off. It seems really, really interesting. We
Yeah.
talked on Will Hardy earlier about where he comes from. Kind of reminds me of what the Spurs are doing this year. Obviously, the Spurs got out of the gate a little bit hotter and have, kind of cooled back down. But I think a lot of that's because Vassell's been out, Keldon's missed some games, Sohan's missed some games. We haven't been healthy. We've been playing guys that I think when the game that we went to against the Timberwolves, there were like 6 G League players on our roster. It's crazy whenever you lose your best player, DeJounte Murray, Donovan Mitchell, that you can somehow get better as a team. And why is that? It's because a lot of these players check their egos at the door, right?
Yeah.
They play team basketball. They're not focused as much on their individual stats. They buy into the team. They buy into coaching. They're more coachable. And I think you're seeing that with the Jazz. I think you're seeing it with the Spurs a little bit, right? Nobody's ball stopping. Nobody's holding the ball like a Harden, like a Carmelo, like where you just play through them. You play iso ball. They're moving it. They're, I think, probably the 2 teams leading the NBA in assists, Spurs, Jazz. And the Jazz are just doing it better. And they look good. I see them continuing to win games. That's the thing. Are they going to finish first in the West? No, they're not.
But it
They're
doesn't
going to
just
continue to win games.
right. It doesn't look like a flash in the pan accident. It looks like they are playing good playoff team
And
basketball.
they're deeper than the Spurs. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they've got a Colin Sexton coming off the bench. Like Colin Sexton's our second or third leading scorer if he's on our team.
Yes.
So I mean,
we're starting him with confidence.
and we're tanking still.
Yes.
But
Yes.
No, Colin Sexton's a good basketball player. I think that's obviously who's been the most impressive, surprising. I don't know how you can't say you're not surprised a little bit by what the Warriors are doing right now.
Yeah.
They
Sitting at 4-7. I mean, they've lost. I wrote down a couple of their losses. They wrote down they lost to, I think it was Sacramento.
It's not good.
Yeah. They're just the fact that they're 27th in the league in defensive rating, and Clay looks like a cone. I hate to say it, but Clay isn't guarding anybody anymore, and it's to the point where you have to address that defensive liability.
I mean, that's the craziest thing, right? Is like they're playing terrible defensively, but there's no turnover really from the last year's team. Who did they lose? That was a pivotal player on their championship team from like 3 or 4 months ago. Who did they lose?
One of the only names that comes to mind is Gary Payton,
Okay, so Gary Payton's a big name, right? Like he played well defensively.
especially with their defense. Yeah,
So yeah, they did lose a defensive player, but he was hurt in the playoffs and they were still winning, right?
right.
You know, it's like Clay's a shell of himself, Draymond's a shell of himself. Curry's having an incredibly good year, but are they just too offensive minded? I think just I can't remember who it was, but there was some, I think it was like an ESPN index projection that had them only projected to win like 42 games. And I was like, how is that possible? How do you have a team that just won the championship 2 months ago and you're expecting him to win 40 games? Is that because Curry's not going to play? Is it because they're going to rest guys and they don't care? But it's shocking to me to see them this bad. It also is very surprising for me to see the Heat be as bad as they are. I want you to tell me about that.
Yeah, that was one of my surprising teams as well. To me they just look off. Like they lost to it was the Kings just a couple of nights ago.
So if you lose to the Kings, you're not
I'm
you're
just
not
saying,
looking good.
They lost to the Kings and the Pacers recently, both teams that I don't really feel like that they should be losing to. And I mean, it was also just one of the teams that I felt like needed to make a positive move and just remained lateral over the offseason. So it was like, all right, let's see what y'all do with really no improvement. And it looks like they needed a little something to get them going.
I mean, and Tyler Hero's having a good season. I think Jimmy Butler has gotten to the point where he's one of those guys that doesn't care as much about the regular season. He's playoff Jimmy. He doesn't care where he's seated. He thinks he can go in those first 2 games and get a win and steal home court. I think they're going to figure it out, right? They've got good defensive players. They've got decent depth. They've got guys like Max Strus, Duncan Robinson who can both play.
I like Strus. Like, yeah,
he's a bucket, right?
I feel like Duncan Robinson's a little bit too inconsistent, but
way overpaid too.
Yes,
but.
yeah, I mean, absolutely, without a doubt. And I feel like Bam, I need to see a little bit more of urgency from him.
That's the guy who really needs to pick it up. Jimmy's still playing well. He's been his efficient self. Bam needs to get going. Bam, they're not looking as good defensively as they have. If you go back a couple months ago, whenever we filmed, he was my defensive player of the year. I'm going to remove that and throw that out. He's nowhere near where he's been efficiently.
Exactly.
His defensive numbers overall are down to, and they're losing. That was a shit pick by me a couple months back. But
I mean, well, yeah. Whenever you start off 4-7, no one's going to be really talking about your defense.
No, they're not.
No, but and one of the other teams I wanted to talk about that was a little surprising to me. It's not incredibly surprising whenever you pull back the layers, but the Blazers.
Yeah,
the Blazers sitting at 7-3 right now, playing really good basketball. Obviously, they got Jeremy Grant that helped out with their rotation a lot. Nurkic is healthy.
Now,
yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, it's a difference from last year.
Yeah,
like they obviously missed that down low bruiser presence, and the fact that Anthony Simons is a guy that you can rely on him in late game situations. Damian Lillard obviously trusts him, gets him the ball, and
he's his new CJ McCollum, right?
Yeah, he's stepping into that role very nicely, and so who would have thought that Anthony Simons would have sort of taken on that role that early? And I think
he's one of those. Deadly. He's one of those guys that whenever McCollum was still there, whenever he'd get minutes, you could tell he could create his own shot. He was not afraid to shoot at all. That's for sure. He still isn't. That's a big shock. I don't think they've really gotten much different outside of Jeremy Grant. I'm sure I'm forgetting some names, but they were bad last year.
Yeah,
they were one of the worst teams in the NBA. Obviously, Lillard sat out bunch last year, but I think they were certainly pegged as a team to at best be in the play-in. And where are they now? They're like a 3 or 4 seed in the West.
Yeah,
shocking. Yeah, that's a shocking one.
Well, and one of the additions I like that they got what they needed perimeter defense, and they got Gary Payton.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so I think whenever he gets fully healthy, I think he's going to help out their rotation as well.
Do they make the playoffs?
Based on what I'm seeing and how they're gelling, yeah, they do.
Wow. It's crazy because if they make it, some teams that we were talking about a couple months back are not.
Yeah,
We got to look at that a little bit closer.
yeah.
I like that. I like that. And there's two other teams that I'm going to mention, and we're not going to go into depth because I want to say I'm surprised, but I'm really not.
Okay.
Philly and the Nets. Like, are we shocked that any team that has Kyrie on one and then Ben Simmons on the other, that they're not playing as well as we thought they might? I'm sorry, they're playing on the same team. Holy
Yeah,
shit!
yeah.
How is Ben Simmons and Kyrie? What GM gets them on the same team?
Well, dude, you're telling me. Like, I mean, I'm not surprised the Nets are playing bad, but dude, I remember you saying that the 76ers were going to be number 1 in the East.
I said they'd be competing for the 1 or the 2 seed, which that's looking like an ice cold take as well. Turn off my mic. Turn off my microphone. Hey, it's still early. James Harden's hurt.
Yeah.
Tyrese Maxey's nice as hell.
I mean, honestly, there's so much more of the season left. I mean, a lot of my takes are looking frozen as well.
1 or 2 seeds looking a little bad. Maybe they still get a chance for the 3rd.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, that's. I feel like that rounds out a lot of good, surprising NBA team talk. There was, there's a lot of good teams that are playing well right now, and some teams that are underperforming to say the least. So, I feel like we touched on a lot of those.
Yeah, now let's talk about those teams that are tanking and what are they tanking for, Rob? Tell me.
They are tanking for Victor Wembanyama. I mean, sorry, Victor Wembanyama. Yeah, obviously he is the unicorn prospect being touted as the greatest prospect ever, maybe best ever.
Can I quote the great LeBron James and correct you on this unicorn? And to quote the great LeBron James, I think we're going to call him an alien because because LeBron was a unicorn.
All right.
LeBron was a unicorn. I think you could say Zion's a unicorn. Is Wembanyama? I can't even say his name. Wembanyama. Is he going to be a unicorn or is he going to be an alien like LeBron says? I think that you have to go a long time. He's more touted than Zion, right?
Yes.
Zion was all over ESPN. You have to go back to LeBron to find as big of a recruit. And LeBron doesn't have some of the stuff that he has already. This guy can already shoot efficiently from 3. What can he not do? Tell me.
Well, I mean, I think one thing we haven't seen him do is play heavy minutes for a long season.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the one thing that is kind of the big question mark whenever it comes to Victor Wembanyama is can his body and his frame handle an 82 game kind of season and have him play enough games to impact a team in a real way. Because whenever we looked at his French league last year, he only played, I think it was 16 games.
Yeah.
And so, and even then, it was less than 20 minutes a game. But his per 36 numbers were crazy.
That's obviously the biggest question mark. Seemingly the only question mark you have with this guy right now is
Right.
how is this guy that's 7'3", 7'4", that can play on the perimeter offensively, how can a guy like that with that much agility stay healthy for that long? How can he have a long career? The thing is, his body he doesn't look uncoordinated.
No.
He looks like he has his body all together, but we saw a highlight the other day of him doing like a floater 3. And I'm just like, if he lands on that guy's foot, his leg's going to snap in half. That's like all I could envision. Like that's all I could think about is like, how is this guy going to stay healthy? It doesn't matter. You pick him, right? Even though Scoot Henderson is so good.
Yeah.
And I think you could say Scoot is a safer prospect because of that. I don't think you look at him as somebody who has the same type of injury concerns because of his frame. I wouldn't. Having said that, I'd still pick Victor, right?
Of course.
I'd hammer the pick.
Yeah.
But like Scoot's a number 1 most other years. He's number 1 this past year. He goes in front of Paolo.
Yeah.
He gets picked over Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
He's the prototypical player in the NBA nowadays. 6'4" point guard, explosive, easily compared to Ja Morant. However, he is a better shooter than Ja. That dude can do everything. He can pull up and shoot mid-range. He can pull up from 3 confidently. He can attack the floor. Super active defensively. I'm excited about him. There's a part of me that thinks that he fits right into what the Spurs are doing.
I was just about to say.
And looks like he's, I mean, I think he comes in and helps us win as much as Victor does. I really do because of I really do. I'm concerned about his durability. I don't know how you're 7'3", 7'4" play like that and don't get ankle and knee injuries.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do. You brought up the absolute best point. 82 games. That's just the regular season.
Yeah.
You need to win, what, 16 games? You need to win 16 games to win a championship. So you got to play, what, 20, 24 at least?
Yeah.
That's the kind of expectation he's going to have. He needs to win multiple championships. That's the expectation this kid's going to have. And it's going to be tough to live up to, but I'm excited to watch his journey.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if it's a little bit too much pressure on him, if he's able to handle it. But yeah, I think it's his potential injuries, and he's already had an injury, which is I was looking it up. I didn't really know what it was. It was like it's called like the psoas muscle, which is like a muscle that runs down your back and it deals with explosiveness, and it caused him to miss a lot of games last season. So I was like, all right, this is. There is potential with leg muscles, things like
Sure.
that.
I'm worried about like feet, like someone like that having feet injury. Like you look at Chet, I think was it Liz Frank?
Yeah, Liz Frank, yeah.
I mean, it's hard not to look at Chet and compare him to Wembanyama from a frame standpoint.
Yeah.
Victor somehow dwarfs his frame, but like that's an easy comparison in terms of durability. That was a question mark with Chet, and then look what's happening.
Right. Yeah.
Someone like Paolo's looking a lot safer, who's like a big boy already.
Yeah.
You don't have the same concerns about his body being able to hand up. You've seen it for a long time.
No, you do not. Well, and going back to Paulo, there were some concerns. I remember that story that came out that he was like, "Oh, he loses this many pounds of sweat each game," and I was like, "What the heck are you even talking about?" They literally said he loses like multiple pounds of sweat each game, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this guy is gonna."
Dude, that doesn't. If you like weigh yourself, like you can lose 7 pounds of water weight.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're putting in enough cardio, I'm curious though for you. Where do you think? Not necessarily where does Wembanyama fit in best, because he's not going to try and fit in wherever he goes. The team's going to try and fit around him. Who do you kind of see finishing at the bottom three in the West or the East, or total, to kind of give themselves the best chance to get this guy? And where do you see him going and really flourishing?
Well, I mean, I think that those are very, very almost like. I don't want to say like those questions like don't matter per se, because like wherever he goes, like you said, he is the system. He is the guy you're building around. I don't care if you have a guy that was an MVP candidate a couple of years ago. Your team is now Victor Wembanyama's team.
Yeah.
And whenever I look at it through that lens, it's like it's building time. And so I don't know if he's going to fit into anywhere unless you're a team like the Spurs, you're a team like the Pacers, you're a team that is just really in desperate need of some sort of big man identity where there is none.
Yeah.
And if you
you're right. That's a difficult and open, like ended question to answer. I'll tell you a team name that would be fucking crazy to see him go to.
Well, just to double back on it, I would like to see him go to the Pistons as well. I think the Pistons could be an interesting location for him. I think.
Well, they'd have a potential three-headed monster for the future. It'd be crazy to see him play along Cade. How freaking crazy is it that the Lakers have a legitimate shot to land Scoot Henderson or Victor Wembanyama?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not good, right? They've won 2 games this year. It's possible they'll get better. Westbrook going to the bench has helped a little bit, but they're currently a bottom 3 team in the NBA. That gives them the best odds along a couple other teams. The worst 3 teams in basketball.
14%, yeah.
Yeah, 14%. I think that the 4th place and the 5th place team have like a 12% chance.
Yeah.
Imagine LeBron and Wembanyama next to each other and Anthony Davis there. That doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen at all.
Yeah, I don't want it to happen either. But ultimately, I don't see the Lakers getting that pick. And I believe I was reading that if the Lakers were to get that pick, then they would owe that pick to the Pelicans.
Oh shit! I'm an idiot.
They
traded their pick away.
See that was the point I was trying to make.
Is it protected? I can't remember if it's top 5 protected or what it is.
I can't remember exactly what I was reading, but I'm almost 100% positive the Pelicans get that pick. So, like, what if the Pelicans get Victor Wembanyama?
That's like when the Warriors were drafting James Wiseman, like a team that, aside from him, you're expecting them to be really good the next year.
Yeah.
The Pelicans are looking insane. They are super deep,
Yeah.
and they haven't even been fully healthy to start the year. There's guys. I mean, Herb Jones, I've heard you speak about recently. Larry Nance is having a good year.
Yeah.
My brain's escaping me right now. Lefty, shooter, power forward, small forward, stretch. Trey Murphy.
Yeah, Trey Murphy.
Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy.
Trey.
Having a great season.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Pelicans are looking really good. Really good.
Yeah, absolutely. All of these situations would be crazy for Victor. But
There's only one that I want to see happen.
well, yeah, we wanted to see him in San Antonio.
We want to see him become the next Tim.
Yeah. But in all honesty, we do have a great system for him to just step in, be our big man identity. We have good shooters around him, you know.
And he can play away from the basketball enough to where he could play alongside Pirtle in our interior defense. Imagine Sohan playing at the 3. Our defense would be insane if we somehow got him. I don't see it happening because we already have 5 wins, and I've never been in this position as a fan.
Yeah.
Like, for the first few games as a Spurs fan, I'm like, what are we doing? And then the next one, I was like, okay, maybe we're good. Maybe I want us to start winning. But now I think I'm back to us wanting to lose every single game again for that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you a couple of, like, just really quick questions about Victor. It's basically like, who would you rather have? So, like, we're talking about him in, like, some of the craziest.
Oh, shit, you're putting me on the spot here.
I
like this a lot. Okay.
Absolutely.
Put me on the spot.
So we're talking about him in almost a LeBron type of way. So, like, is there a player that is at that superstar level right now who you would trade for that number 1 pick?
Is there anybody in the NBA right now that I would trade for the number 1 pick?
No. At that superstar level, at like a for sure, without a doubt, all-star level player that you would trade for that number 1 pick. I'm talking about like
current.
Yeah, like I'm talking about
Giannis, and I would do it in a heartbeat.
You would trade Giannis for that number 1 pick?
Yeah. Sure.
Oh my goodness!
Sure.
No way.
Yeah. Why not?
What?
Why not?
You would trade Giannis for Victor?
Well, what do we hope Victor becomes?
I mean,
we would love for Victor to enter the league and become a 2-time MVP, an NBA champion, one of the best defenders in basketball, and young enough to be the same player for another decade. I have not seen Victor Wembanyama play one NBA game yet. I've never seen him be healthy for 82 games like you talked about earlier. So from a risk mitigation standpoint, maybe this is me just being cautious. But yeah, if I can get Giannis, now are there multiple players that I would trade for him? Jokic is the only other one that comes to mind, but I'm not doing it. I'd rather take the potential. Maybe Luka. Luka's another name that might be close. I think those are the only two names.
Wait. Are you saying you would trade these people or would not?
Those are the. Oh, you're saying. Oh, I just had this completely backwards.
Okay. All
right. I just had this completely backwards.
I'll
take me over. What is wrong with my brain right now?
No. You're all good. Okay, so
those are the only players I would not.
Okay. Let me just rephrase this. Are you trading KD for that number 1 pick?
Yes.
Are you trading Curry for that number 1 pick?
Yes.
Are you trading Dame for that number 1 pick? Are you trading?
Yes. Every name except for the first one I said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we're of similar thinking.
Are you trading Luka for the number 1 pick?
No.
Are you trading Giannis?
No.
Are you trading Jokic?
No.
Name a fourth.
I would be very, very hesitant to trade Tatum. Like Tatum and
wouldn't.
Yeah, see
at all.
We'll see that's what I'm saying. Like I would be lying if I said I wouldn't think about it though. Because thinking about Victor Wembanyama that's not a normal prospect.
It's
right
that
there.
unknown that we don't know.
Right.
It's that unknown that I just don't know yet.
See, like
I've seen Tatum not get over the hump with talent for a while now.
Right.
That's why I've seen Giannis be the unquestioned best guy on his team in the league and win a championship. So yeah, I'll trade the number 1 pick for him. Luka's still so young. That's why I'll put him up there as maybe that other guy, but past them, yeah, tough.
So
very tough.
You're trading Jokic?
Oh yeah, shit. Damn it. I don't know. No, I'm not trading Jokic.
Yeah.
No, I'm holding Jokic.
Yeah,
I'm holding Jokic.
There's no way.
How about for Scoot though? What's Scoot worth?
Well, for Scoot, I'm really high on Scoot as well. But
Are you trading the second pick for Dame Lillard?
no way, not even close. Like I'm high on Scoot, but like Scoot's trajectory, he would be lucky to be Dame. Scoot would do a backflip if he became Damian Lillard.
I almost just tried to play devil's advocate for that, and then almost like said some disrespectful stuff about Dame Lillard, and then I just shut the fuck up. I was like, but he's like never gonna get over the hump, and I'm like, Adam, stop being he's a bucket. But
I mean, I think him not getting over the hump is largely due to
being in Portland.
Yeah, and his team, because like it's not like you can point to like his lack of play in late game situations. It's not like you can point to like, oh, you freeze in the playoffs and you are an underperformer. It's none of those things.
It makes Paul George freeze.
Yeah, it's like he is him late in the game. So it's I think whenever you're talking about like, are you trading like for sure established players for prospects, it's like that prospect has to be like the X factor. Like, and when we're talking to Wembanyama, dude, there's really established veteran players that have been perennial all-stars that I am just dishing out instantly for Wembanyama.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I had no hesitation on trading KD for him, but granted, KD's like what, 35, 34?
Right.
I think he's 34. So, I mean, that's also like if KD's 27, am I immediately trading him?
No. I'm not trading 27-year-old KD.
I'm really interested to see how this conversation would go after when Yamba plays like 10 games. Are we like, I'd get rid of anyone for him?
Yeah, that might be true.
Man, those are some good topics today. I feel like that about wraps it up for us.
Dude, absolutely. Yeah, some really great Victor talk. We got to talk about award predictions and most surprising teams thus far. A lot of really great topics. We appreciate y'all for stopping in and checking out the Baseline Bums podcast. Want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Turning Point Brewery in Bedford, Texas. We have Highlight the Lowlights. It is a German black lager. And it's delicious. We're not drinking it right now because it's like 10 in the morning. But
it usually never stops us, but we'll let it stop us today. We're gonna have our coffee instead. Yeah, guys, please do on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Please follow our socials. Go if you like what you've heard today. If you've been following along with us, follow the Baseline Bums podcast. Check out Rob's page, B-Ball Archives. He is posting fire content daily. I'm still slacking on my socials. But look at B-Ball Hot Takes. You'll see me getting in the comments on a lot of our stuff. I'm excited to come back and do a couple more. I think that we're going to be getting together next week and the week after to film some more stuff, and I am looking forward to that.
Absolutely. Thank y'all for stopping in. This has been the Baseline Bums podcast, and as always,
Go Spurs, go.